In my experience with college athletics or any sports, period, I don't think I've ever seen 2 weeks as dramatic like a soap opera as I have seen involving UT and Texas A&M baseball. This trumps Lincoln Riley leaving Oklahoma, duping the media, and the next day, overnight, he bounces to LA to USC. Well, this takes the cake. Jim Schlossnagle is now the head baseball coach at the University of Texas. Let's ride.
Wake your ass up.
Or take a damn nap.
And we're the three best friends that anybody could have.
It's time.
Sean, you were twerking. That's going to happen.
Murph, don't be a dick all your life.
It's one of the more fun podcasts I've ever done.
Hey, I tell you what, if you're not talking about sports in the man cave, I bet not say you not a man.
That's it.
I think it's pretty selfish of you to ask me that question, to be honest with you. But I left my family to be the coach at Texas A&M. I took the job at Texas A&M to never take another job again.
What was that? And I've got two people who I absolutely have the utmost respect for, and that being an All-American. Well, Harge, were you ever an All-American at any point?
Yeah, absolutely I was. But I'm not going to talk about myself in that way. But yes, I definitely was an All-American.
Yeah, we got Nathan. and the ties run deep with these two right here. Nathan Thornhill, All-American pitcher from UT. And then, of course, Hardball Harge, one of the OG Man Cave boys. In fact, Harge helped coach, instruct, and I think I want to say Harge had a hand in Thornhill's success at some point. Is that accurate?
100%. Actually, fun fact, Harge probably gets tired of me saying this, but in 5th grade, I did a project on my hero, and Mike Harge is my hero.
Wow.
He came to my school and listened to my speech. It was pretty cool. So
yeah, I was very impressed by that, man.
But
I was excited when Nathan asked me to be part of his report. At first, I was like, "Are you being serious, man?" And he was like, "No, most definitely." And I was like, "I'm definitely honored." I was very impressed with Nathan as a young athlete. Not only baseball, people forget how good he was at quarterback at Cedar Park as well. You know, so we go way back, and that's my dog, and always will be.
For sure.
Well, that's what this podcast is all about, kind of family, inspiring. But today, fellas, because of our investment, especially Thornhill's investment as a former Longhorn not too long ago, I know time flies once eligibility runs out, and Harge at one point was a UT baseball commit, decided to go pro, and I don't blame him because right out of high school, everybody wanted him. But we're going to establish this in a chronological order. We saw that interview. We heard the rumors, probably the last 2 or 3 weeks involving Schlossnagle to UT. I think I can speak for all of us. There's no way that's happening. But how he responded to that Tex Ags reporter, now that what has all transpired since then, does it all make sense now? We'll begin with you, Nate.
You know, I think it does make sense. And like you, I heard the rumors. I didn't believe them. Maybe I thought it was wishful thinking, and I was kind of hoping I was wrong. But he actually touched on this answer today. I went to the press conference when they introduced him, and he apologized to that reporter who was in attendance and said, I didn't answer that the way maybe I should have. And the reporter had every right to ask that question. He also talked about the emotion after, the last pitch of the national championship, and that question comes up. I'm sure he had an answer in his head that he wanted to say, but probably some emotion got in there. And, we've all had emotional responses, maybe the way that we wish they wouldn't have been.
How about you, Harge? I know you and I have spoken a lot about this on the phone for the last month.
Yeah. The answer to the reporter, he knew he messed up. And there's a way to go about it. And the reporter's job is to ask that. Sean, you've been a reporter. You have got to ask questions. You've been in all these arenas to even have this opportunity. So for me, he knew he screwed up, and I'm glad he apologized. That's the first step of making sure that you set the record straight. And don't blame a young person for doing their job and having his big moment. And now everybody is rallying around that kid. So it actually might have helped him in the long run with that conversation, to be quite honest with you. But like everybody else, I heard the rumors. We had listened to it. I was like, how can you do that? What was the reason? Is Texas, we hear the saying all the time, Texas is Texas, and that's the place you want to be. That's where you need to be. But then you start to think about it, and you're like, is he really going to do that? Why would he do that? Well, he did it. And here we are now.
Hey, before we move forward, you can see the big banner on the second level of the screen. Shout out to Jim Saxton State Farm Insurance Agency. He is an Austin, Texas OG, the son of a Heisman finalist and a Longhorn legacy. And he's been insuring Austin for several decades. Jim Saxton State Farm Insurance Agency. And be sure to like all of our social media platforms. So we're going to work a little bit backwards. It's been an interesting week. And we all heard the silence, so to speak, since UT season ended in the regional at College Station after they got out 10-2 to Louisiana. The David Pierce era ends the morning of officially. I think it ended days before, but on that last day of the college baseball season, it officially was released by UT. There's been rumors that Kurt Bowles, who's now with the Houston Chronicle, leaked it out and reported it, but that's his job as a reporter. But they officially did it. And I heard that, I think we all know that there's also, CDC planned to do it on Tuesday, not Monday. But to you, Nathan, I saw your tweet and I knew you, it's just a classy tweet. David Pierce, 8 years. It wasn't a failure. It just, as you know, coaches are judged by the success they have in Omaha.
Yeah, I like first and foremost, I'm just going to say I have a ton of respect for Coach Pierce, and I really like him as a person. I would consider him a friend. Goes further back than everybody might think. He recruited me at Rice, and I remember that relationship and that process. And then I stumbled across him when I was in pro ball in Clearwater, Florida. I was rehabbing after surgery, and he was there for his for I think maybe Tulane's conference championship in Clearwater. And I went up to him, I just shook his hand and said, I don't know if you remember me, Nathan Thorne. He goes, of course I remember you. And then he gets here and makes a joke about how he recruited a bunch of us to Rice, and he's the one that ended up at Texas. And, just a good person, really. And I meant that. Like, he's a better man. He's a great coach, but a better man. And, watching this all unfold was unfortunate. It's sad because you really like Coach Pierce a lot. He frankly, most programs would take what he did at Texas and give him a raise and an extension. And, so and I think a lot of people forget, I'm bouncing around a little bit, but look at what he inherited. No offense to the guys that played after me. I was a part of two bad teams under Aggie. We righted the ship in 2014, but then look at what Coach Pierce inherited. I think a team with a record, 55-66 or somewhere around there. Not a winning record over the last 2 years before he got there, and he put Texas back on the map. He won 3 Big 12 championships, went to Omaha 3 times, and arguably his best team that he had, the season gets canceled because of COVID. And I really think, and like everybody can say hypotheticals, but I think Texas had a really good squad that year that got canceled, and who knows what would have happened. I don't know if they win at all, but I think they probably knock on the door. Yeah. And so it's a program that prides itself on winning in Omaha. Coach Pierce did a really good job of getting there and really did a good job of winning the conference several times. But I think, maybe you could argue things were trending in a direction people weren't excited about or whatever it was, and a change was made. And again, I feel for Coach Pierce, and I think he probably deserves more appreciation than he gets from our fan base. Mm-hmm. Don't want our fan base attacking me for saying that, but I do think we should look at what he did and be thankful for that versus, acting like it was, 8 or 7 horrible years. It wasn't. It was pretty good coaching.
Yeah, it was. And, I think, and to add to what you said, I consider him a friend. I was able to touch base with him briefly just by text yesterday. Finally, I didn't expect him to answer. I didn't expect him. I know it's your livelihood. It hits the pause button, and when you lose your job, but if he's watching this, but I think I told him it was not a failure. It just did not reach the levels to which was expected.
Right.
And you played with that expectation, so you know all about it.
Yeah, and I mean, I really do think that, and it's not reasonable for me to say this, but I think if our fans got to hang out with Coach Pierce the way you and I have probably gotten to just spend time around him, I think my favorite thing about him is he's just a guy. Yeah. He's a fun guy to be around. He's a real person. He's not a celebrity, and I think because everybody didn't get that experience, he might not get the excitement he deserves. But like I was rooting for him because he is just a guy and he's coaching baseball. He's a good coach. And I was pretty proud of what he was able to do while he was here.
And I would imagine he will land on his feet. And I think the natural fit at you, myself, or anyone would say that he'll probably go to Houston at Rice or U of H or I don't know, a Southland Conference school. But, I think he'd be an asset to any staff.
For sure.
Yeah, that's just my opinion.
I think Houston or Rice would be wise to look at him as their next head coach. I know they don't have vacancies right now, but if you look at the direction of those two programs, I think he could come make an impact day one. He's very familiar with the area from his days at Rice. And I think he'd be an exciting hire that could go recruit, even if he just stayed in the Houston area, thinking about all the talent there and get Rice back to being where Rice has been before. It'd be really cool to watch.
But Rice should not be where they are, just my opinion.
No, I 100% agree. I know it's tough. The landscape has changed with NIL and all that stuff. So but it's sad to see because I remember Rice being like a powerhouse, and that was pretty neat because they're not a football school. They were a baseball school and then an academic school. And so I wish it'd be cool to see, and Coach Pierce was the pitching coach for a lot of those really good teams. And so I just think it's kind of a natural place for him. I don't know if they're looking, whatever, but I think they should.
I do too. And he comes from the old school Wayne Graham, and he coaches that way. He's a laid back guy, but coaches hard.
Yeah.
And some people, I will say, and it's to each their own. It's not a knock on anyone's personality. Some people don't respond well to hard coaching. So that announcement officially was released Monday night. Great. I thought it was a great CWS, great championship series. It was heartbreaking for Aggies. So close. And then the very next morning, this occurred. Arriving back in Aggie land. There's Schlossnagle, shaking the hands. Everyone, unbeknownst to everyone in that audience, what was about to hit the fan later that evening. And what happened was the formal announcement. He's hired by Texas. What was your initial response? Because I thought maybe because Kendall Rogers does a phenomenal job across the country.
Yeah, he does.
And everyone criticizes him because they say he's pro Aggie. He does a great job of being objective.
He does. I have a joke, and I think everybody has a joke that Kendall hates everybody's team. I wouldn't fault Kendall if he really does hate Texas now, being an Aggie. But I think he's too much of a professional to actually do that.
Yeah,
he's a pro. He's really good at what he does for college baseball. I think he probably deserves a lot of credit for where college baseball is.
I agree
because of how he and his team cover the game. It's grown even since when I was playing. It's just amazing what college baseball has become. I watched every game of the championship series, and my rival from when I was playing for a national championship, and I watched every game because it's hard not to watch. It was interesting. It was great baseball. The quality of the game today, because of NIL and maybe because the draft has less rounds, like it is from a fan experience, it's way better than it's ever been.
It's a great game, and I think the viewership's up, the production value. I love going to the ESPN3 app and watching those regionals.
Yep.
Much more than I like March Madness, and I know I'm in the minority on that.
I'm there with you then. So,
hey, Hard is, he's driving around San Diego, California, and that's a big shout out to him of coming back on. But what we're looking at right now, Harge, and to you at home or wherever you're watching this was Schlossnagle's statement that was published by the 12th man. He basically gave a shout out to his boss, Trev Alberts, and the 12th man. Incredible experience. But here's the key sentence. I chose to make a change to join a longtime friend to continue my career as a college baseball coach. And then, I know it looks like he's just like, okay, I'm just making a statement. I really felt like he meant this because as we go on in this podcast episode, I think everything's going to make sense. How close he and CDC are.
That to me is the key to this relationship. We all have friends that we have worked with, that we also have done business with. And sometimes it's a tough decision. They go their separate ways, but we find a way back to each other because I know your work ethic, you know my work ethic, and a lot of times that's the way it goes. Nathan, you got a chance to play professional baseball. You saw it throughout your career. Relationships matter. And a lot of people want to work together again when you've had a lot of success, and their relationship seems to be a lot deeper than even a professional relationship. Yeah. I believe I saw a report where he is one of my best friends. I mean, it rolls a little bit deeper than that. We've all worked with our best friends. Some of them it works out, sometimes it doesn't, but I can't fault the guy that wanted to go back and work with a friend of his.
Yeah, I'll just add a little bit to that. I mean, you're right. Relationships are everything. That's why your teammates, when you see them, even if you haven't talked to them in months, when you see them, you haven't skipped a beat. Same thing in business. I mean, we all have relationships that matter, and that's why I think we all probably do what we do because we value relationships.
Correct.
Well, Slosh today in his press conference mentioned, and he said the way he said it was very delicate. He said there wasn't anybody at A&M I couldn't trust. So he wasn't throwing them on their bus, but he goes, but there's nobody I can really trust more than CDC. And having the chance to come work with him in a landscape that is changing rapidly. It's the most uncertain time in college baseball. And you have CDC, who's his best friend, that's technically his boss. He's relying on that relationship to CDC is going to do what's best for him. Even now, CDC will put the program ahead of him, but I think CDC believes he's going to do great things for this program. And then he also touched on having an administration and board of regents who's also in alignment with your athletic director. I mean, to have, I think he used the term narrow, to have everybody so tightly together was so appealing for him. And the fact that it's his best friend as the AD had a lot to do with that.
Yeah, and that's key. And that's key to continue the success. And just a couple of bullet points from his resume. I mean, this is 4 schools, but in 3 schools, he's been to Omaha 7 times and 9 trips to the college baseball Sweet 16. And we saw what he did in 3 seasons at A&M. Now, I think you can achieve the same at A&M as you could at Texas, but Texas is the gold standard of college baseball because if you get the alignment, as you guys both talked about, you can have a long duration career, i.e. Bib Falk, Uncle Billy Dish, Coach Gus, Augie Garrido, long careers of tremendous success. Why that didn't happen for Coach Pierce, we may never know. But look at that. I mean, that is the type of success that UT fans are used to right there.
For sure. And I think, I mean, I took my wife with me to the press conference today. I got to have a guest, so I told her if she wants to come on. And she, at one point, she looked at me and goes, how many times has this happened in Texas history? I go, 6. This is the 6th one. and she goes, that's kind of cool. And I was like, I didn't even think about that. Like,
Right.
everybody
That's a
talks
good
about
point.
head coaches we've had, but like, there's been 6, maybe press conference back then, but like something similar. You're introducing a new head coach. I mean, that tradition is really something to be proud of. And Schlossnagle touched on Gus and Aggie and Coach Pierce today in his press conference. He's friends with Coach Pierce. He admired Aggie. Yeah. He said Aggie kind of took him under his wing towards the tail end of his career, and even talked to him about the Texas job. And he said, one thing, if you ever get the job at Texas, it's not your program. You're just there to steward it. And that's how Aggie felt. And Schlossnagle touched on that today and said, that's right. He goes, I've stewarded every program I've been to, but he goes, my program's Elon. That's where I played, but I'm here to be the best steward of this program as I can.
That's
I thought that I love the way you said that too, because I was listening to that. And the biggest thing for me, and I'm not saying Coach Pierce did not do this, because I'm sure he did. He recruited some of the former players' kids. But the thing that I keep looking at is being open to having former players like yourself be involved with the program.
Huge.
I have been saying this for weeks. I've been saying it for years. Look, I love the kids in California. I'm in California right now, for crying out loud. But kids from California don't know the tradition and the wars that they go through in Texas athletics, period, point blank. And that is been the biggest thing, biggest story for me, is I want to see Texas kids playing at the University of Texas. And I believe that Texas kids will start coming back to the University of Texas. Now, we've had some good ones. We've got some kids on the team. I'm not discrediting the ones that we have, but there's no reason for Texas not to have the best pitchers from the state of Texas pitching at Texas.
Right.
No, that's the key. Because if you look at A&M's roster, I'll venture to say, I'll just throw a number out there. 85 to 90% Texas-grown kids. And I think that is an underrated factor in these programs' success. And Harge, I know you're driving, but Nate and I are right now, we're looking at a graphic. And it's pretty impressive that UT just spit these out so quickly. We've already got a photoshopped of Schlossnagle in a Texas uniform. But I was going to ask you guys about this. He brought his 3 key members of his staff with him, beginning with Michael Early, Nolan Kane, and the young, very youthful pitching coach, Max Weiner, which a lot of people had some fun with that during the College World Series. Hey, Max Weiner has made an appearance. But to have this full staff out here, I mean, Harge, go back to you, then Nate. That's huge because, and the reason, and this is not a knock on Coach Pierce, because we've seen a revolving door of assistants. I don't know, the last 5, maybe 6 years with Coach Pierce, but this is what Schlossnagle really drove home today: stability and people he trusts, again, like these guys.
Yeah, that's huge. When you think about, you just wiped out the entire pitching staff. I mean, the entire staff of your biggest rival in less than 24 to 48 hours of them losing in the College World Series. And now they have to pick up all the pieces. I mean, there's nothing there. And it's an interesting time. And I'm glad he brought this up as well. The interesting time in college athletics. It is something that we thought we were prepared for, but hadn't seen anything like it. Mm-hmm. I referred it to the Wild Wild West a little bit earlier today, because that's where we're in. We're in these times where an athletic director from Texas A&M can go to Ohio State. A person from Nebraska as an athletic director can go to Texas A&M. And now you're looking at Jimbo Fisher being taken away from Florida State in that particular moment. And now we're in a place where Texas just pulled off the biggest coup in college athletics, maybe ever, when you sit back and you truly think about what just happened and the gut-wrenching move that CDC, the savage that he is, was able to pull off, but not savagery. He brought back his best friend to the school that he is winning Director's Cup and Athletic Director of the Year. This is huge in the state of Texas, and we knew there was going to be a rivalry, Well, that just went up to about 12 immediately.
Yeah, I mean, I think he hit on it in his press conference today, but bringing the whole staff over, I had a friend text me who's not affiliated with either university. He goes, "Dang, y'all did them dirty." I was like, "Oh man!" But Schlossnagle hit on it today in his press conference. He just said, "It's not me. It's all of us as a collective." Like he's like, "I'm not the secret sauce. Like I'm the head guy, but without those guys, we don't get where we were at Texas A&M." And so I just think, one, like what a good leaders understand that like you can't do it alone. And so he knows that he has to have good generals, which he has underneath him. And I mean, they all, I feel like, have a ton of accolades and a lot of praise out there in the college baseball community. And so to get all three of them is really impressive. I was worried that you'd get, two of the three, which is still great. Like that's kind of expected, actually. To get all three, I feel like is very fortunate.
I mean, what's your thought on the Texas was prepared? So that tells me, I mean, not just planning ahead, but the potential of this happening, this just tells everybody this was in the works. It was a matter of formalities. It's just my opinion.
Well, I think your opinion could be correct. I don't have any direct evidence of that, but when there's smoke, there's fire.
That's right.
And right now, you might want to look for an extinguisher.
Yeah. Just got one from Amazon, by the way. We can use that because that's real. So we're seeing it. The portal, and in addition to NIL and managing all these new nuances of collegiate athletics, you've seen three of the Aggies' top players enter the portal. Do you guys expect them to be in Austin soon?
I don't know if I would expect them to be in Austin, but I wouldn't be surprised by it at all. Nothing will shock me at this particular moment. But the thing about it is, what do you expect? There's nobody there.
Right.
I would expect every player at the University or Texas A&M University to think about jumping in the portal. They don't mean they have to leave. They can just put their name in there because there is absolutely no one left that they went to that college to play for.
Right. That's a good point.
To me, why not? Because the coach that comes in may not want you either.
Right.
So there's a lot of moving parts that will be involved. If they come to the University of Texas, oh my gosh. But the reality of the situation is this. Those kids have a home for now, but what if the next coach comes in and he wants to bring in his guys? That always is the message.
Yeah. That's a good point, Harge. I think getting in the portal, there's no harm in it. Personally, I tweeted out whenever I saw that, it looks like we need about 5 Lamborghinis. So I'll be a little more forward. I would like to see some of those guys in Austin.
Yeah. Laviolette. I probably just butchered his last name.
That's a big one.
That's a huge one. Before we take a very quick break, I got to get your thoughts on this. And this is a podcast. We're able to express our opinions, deliver some facts. Listen, I respect Schlossnagle, but I'll just put it out there. I was really, really curious and hopeful that Frank Anderson could return to Austin because his daughter's here. I believe in law school. The pitching coach, once for Aggie Grito, now at Tennessee, has done a fabulous job. And I really was intrigued by Tony Vitello. I love his antics. I love his excitement. But I'll start with you, Harge, and then to Nate. Your thought on that process, and do you really think Vitello and Frank Anderson were seriously considered? Uh-oh.
I'll jump in there.
Yeah.
Considered, I don't know. I think I go back to the friendship piece of this. Schlossnagle's hit on it a lot, but you have to think CDC was coming from that same angle. So I'm sure if there was doubt that you could get Schlossnagle, I guarantee you they would look at Vitello and several others who are really good coaches and upcoming coaches. I mean, I think Vitello is an exciting coach, and I think you'd have a hard time getting him away from Tennessee now.
Oh,
but I just think Schloss was probably I think it was more of a rifle shot, not a shotgun approach.
Right.
Where I think CDC goes, I can go get that coach who's my best friend. If I can do that, I'm doing it. And I'm going to try it before I try anything else.
Yeah, that's if we were go ahead, Hart.
I agree with that 100%. I think it was going to be Jim Schlossnagle from the jump. I thought it was going to be Jim Schlossnagle from the word go. And I would have to agree. If it wasn't going to be him, I'm a big fan of Tony Vitello. I think the energy that he brings every single day is something that the fire that you want to see of a coach defending his players and pushing back a little bit to try to help those guys out. I was all in on that. I had no problem if it was going to be Vitello. But the fact of the matter is the relationship came to number one and number one accepted, so we'll never know.
You're right.
Man, you have a beautiful ceiling to your car rental.
Hey, well, I'm just telling you, your boy's trying to back in and be done so I don't have to drive anymore. So I'm trying to look out for us.
Hey, let's let Hards back up. We'll take a quick break, have a Hargrove Roofing shout out, and then we have a really quick second segment. And, man, a busy week. A lot has happened in the amount of 4 days. We'll see you. Oh, coming on the other side, I almost forgot. A piece of Schlossnagle's contract I was not aware of. Totally shocked, and you wonder why Texas A&M allowed it. That's coming up on the other side of this break.
Here at Hargrove Roofing, we try to think outside the box to kind of get the creative juices flowing. So I brought in my friend Stevie Lee, former defensive tackle for the Texas Longhorns. He's going to help the team strategize, really motivate them, light a fire.
This guy's going to block down. This guy's going to block down. You put your butt into the guard, and that way my Mike linebacker gets free to do what?
Not only are they going to learn a thing or two, but they're going to also leave with a great attitude and a bunch of smiles on their faces.
I'm sorry, what does this have to do with roofing exactly?
Get out.
Right now.
I said get out.
For me, that's what it's all about. It's just having fun, making our employees have a great time. Hargrove Roofing. Know who's on your roof.
When I was at TCU, these rumors have always been around because of our relationship, and I can't control that. If you ask our coaches, they have had to deal with it since the day I got to Texas A&M. I mean, I have had a specific buyout specifically for the University of Texas, and that's because of my relationship with Chris. And so, thankfully, it's really not a question we'll ever have to answer again.
Wow. That's Hards had to go. He's on family vacation in San Diego, California, and the fact that he took time for us speaks volumes to you, Nathan Thornhill. You and I texted about that. A&M clearly had a reason why they allowed it to happen contractually, but he had a specific out in his contract that said, okay, there's this certain buyout if I take the Texas job.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, everyone has outs in their contracts. Some don't, but I would venture to say most do.
Right.
When you first read or heard that, you were there. Were you in disbelief like, well, that's bad business?
Yeah, I mean, I was wondering, like, if it's specific to Texas, like you said, every contract probably has a buyout.
Yeah.
But to have one specific to Texas, like, I'd like to read the language and see what the other buyout was for not Texas. Was it discounted or was it more? I don't know. But I think, if you're A&M allowing that, I mean, you're trying to lure him over from TCU, so you probably don't have a ton of leverage. So you want to make him happy. You want him to be your coach. And you're probably like, the Texas job might come up well after he's built this program, and then he won't want to leave. Because, you had Coach Pierce was 2021, 2022, some pretty good seasons there that ended in Omaha with conference championships. And so you're probably going, Pierce has got to go in down there. They're not going to have that opening. So will agree to it or something. I don't know. I don't know why you would allow it if you knew that he and CDC are so close. At the same time, maybe they put a probability on it and it was a low probability and they said, whatever, we want to get him over here from TCU, so we have to do it. But I'm glad it's there for the Longhorns.
That works. And so now you're going to have these coaches calling their agents, hey, listen, if my dream job opens, give me a discounted buyout.
Yeah, we'll see how
for the other university, something like that. You mentioned it. You alluded to it, and I got to tell you something. Something just came up on Twitter. I just saw, and I can't tell who to attribute it to. 11 Aggies are now in the portal.
Again, I thought Harge made a good point. I didn't think about it from his perspective of there's nobody over there right now. You don't even know who your coach is going to be, so you should get the portal just to protect yourself. You might end up putting the A&M uniform right back on, and that's okay. In fact, I bet the majority of them probably do.
Right, I agree.
But to get in there, protect yourself, and have your options open is smart. And from a Longhorn perspective, I'm hoping some of them are making plans to head this way.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. Now, you alluded to this, and Schlossnagle told the story today about how he always wanted to be a friend of Aggies, and it was during a rain out between, I think, TCU and Texas, or rain delay.
I think it was TCU. It was at Rice. It was Reckling Park. It was regional.
Yeah, something like that.
It was against Rice. It was game 2 of a regional. It was the winners bracket game. So both teams were 1-0, and he was talking about a rain out.
Yeah, and then he flew out to California to go visit him.
Yeah,
and that's when what you said that he told him, and you're starting to put the pieces together and learning more about a guy that a lot of people didn't want to learn about because he's the head coach of the main rival. Right. And I think Aggie fans, they have every right to be pissed off.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. It's meteoric what has happened, and they probably feel extremely slighted. So I get it. But we're on this side of things that we see from the Texas side. The story just seems like this was meant to. I believe that the universe has a way of aligning where you're supposed to be.
Yeah, I'm going to backtrack. I had my story wrong. It was TCU versus Texas, the Aggie part.
Okay.
So sorry for confusing you there. No. I was getting confused with CDC. So that's on me. But it does feel like on the Texas side, it's almost a little bit like destiny with CDC and Schloss specifically in their friendship. And so I'm excited about it. I think he's a great coach. I played against him, and he always rolled out a really good squad that was difficult to play against. And I think he's probably only refined that being in the SEC for 3 years to where he's even sharper than he was at TCU. And I think our players and our fan base is really going to benefit from him being here.
I think his ability, he talked about his, from the staff to the nutrition and weight and, the strength and conditioning to everybody that you don't see. And then those 3 key members of his staff, he said he was probably going to be hiring more. I know that just because of the revolving door for Coach Pierce, I just didn't feel like there was a lot of stability around that.
Which is a bummer because, when Pierce got here, he had his staff that had been with him at his previous 2 stops. And things happen. Actually, I think the sign of a good staff is when your guys get hired away.
That's a great point.
And so, again, the lack of stability is probably a factor here. But Pierce when he did have that stability, it was pretty good. And even with the revolving door, I still think he accomplished some really good seasons. And I think it's probably more about the opportunity to have Schlossnagle and less about what Pierce was lacking in. I think it was one of those things that, again, most programs would look at Coach Pierce's resume at Texas and say, how long can we sign a contract with him for?
Right.
And so, again, Texas is a different animal. It's tough. There's high expectations, which I'm glad they're there, but I'm not it's not completely rational in my opinion sometimes, but those expectations are there. So
do you feel like you've played and you navigated how tough it is at the program, but you wanted that pressure. You wanted to be a part of that. Do you feel like this may, not that there's any fracture or division, but the old Longhorns of those great 80s teams and 90s, what do you think this has done, this hiring? Do you feel like has any effect on bringing everybody together?
Yeah, I hope so. I think TBD really, no matter who you play for, Gus, Aggie, or Pierce, you want Texas baseball to be successful. So we all have that common ground. And I'm hoping there's some kind of things, whether it's football season or baseball season, where they get the alumni back and under the same roof, and everybody can hang out and have a good time and really get behind the new era of Texas baseball. I mean, I think Coach Schlossnagle and his staff and whoever the players are that are in that dugout, they deserve all of us to be supporting them. And I think CDC says it, a united Texas is a reckoning. And I think we have a responsibility as former players, as fans, as anybody who wants to wear the burnt orange, to get behind that statement.
Yeah, and that's key, because it is a family. There's no doubt. And
For
you
sure.
want your family close. Before we wrap up, who do you think's the next Aggies coach? Do you think Skip Johnson? Have you talked to Skip?
I have not talked to Skip. He'd be a great hire for him. I think he would do a pretty good job. He's done a great job at OU. I think he really likes Norman. And I think they've treated him well up there, to where Skip's all about, I mean, we were talking about relationships earlier. That guy that's all that matters to him, is relationships. Yeah. And so if you treat him well, he will treat you well 100-fold. And so I think he's got a pretty good thing going up there. He's a Texas guy, though. So, I have no doubt he'd probably listen. But we'll see. I think it'd be a good option for him. And then I don't know who their coach is going to be, but one thing Schlossnagle did do was prove that you can win there and get to the big game. I mean, they've won games in the past, but get to the big game. And I mean, really 7 outs away from a championship in game 2, and then 1 run away on game 3. I mean, that's knocking on the door. You know that their fan base is passionate. You know that they're going to have resources behind the program. So it's an appealing job. I think they'll land somebody who's going to be a good coach, which is why a lot of those guys who are in the portal might stay. But if it's Skip or someone similar, they're going to be competitive.
There we go. I want to send this photo of you to Skip. All right, this is how we end it. We got to end with some positivity.
Hey, man, tell me something good.
All right, Nathan Thornhill, Longhorn for life, All-American for life. Throughout all this, I don't know, it may be something in life for you, but tell me something good.
Oh, man. Geez, something good. I think I'll keep it related to this conversation we've had today. I just think it's an exciting time to be a Texas Longhorn. We were kind of in the desert there for 10 or so years. I think Chris Del Conte deserves a ton of credit for getting us on the right track. And let's not forget those times that we were in the desert. And let's enjoy this a little bit, because it is good. And, I think as fans and alums, we should enjoy the moment and get behind our teams on every field, in every arena, in the pool, whatever, because it's a fun time to be a Texas Longhorn.
Couldn't have said it any better. And you know what? I got to be cool. I have to acknowledge the Aggies. Listen, we don't know how to explain this, but I promise you, your job is it is alluring. It is would be a huge opportunity for anybody in the country. I don't even know what to tell you. I get it. I would be pissed off too, but there are brighter days ahead, and you didn't get to Omaha. If you can make it that far again, you'll be there again. There's no doubt about it. No doubt.
I agree. And to A&M, I understand being frustrated and upset. Don't forget, though, you just played for a national championship, which is pretty cool. So, maybe focus on that a little bit more. You can get there. And, football season's around the corner, and you can try to beat us then, but good luck.
Yeah, that's right. Nate, man, it has been fun. I always enjoyed our time when you were playing for the Longhorns and back in my media days. You made it fun. I don't know if I ever had an opportunity to tell you that. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Always made time, and you humored my ridiculousness sometimes.
No, this is a one. I always enjoyed working with you when I was playing, and then that's the cool thing about being at Texas is, 10 years later we're still talking.
That's right.
And neither one of us is doing what we were doing back then. So it's really cool.
We're always evolving. And you know what? I will say those beverages at the places we've crossed, they've been very, very cold and very delicious.
We'll have to do it again.
100%. Hey, for the Nathan Thornhill and Hardball Hard for taking time out of his day in San Diego, California with a family vacation, man. We owe him. Nate, Harge, I know you may be watching this since it's recorded. We're going to stream it. I owe you both cocktails and, of course, Nate's better half as well. We'll make it happen. Man, I appreciate you.
Thanks, Sean. Appreciate you.
No problem, man. And it's going to be I think the fun is just beginning. It's been a great soap opera so far, this hiring of Schlossnagle, and it's not over with. There's many things, many pieces to be inserted, and can't wait for each. But for Nate, for Harge, and the other two OG Man Cave boys, that being Big Mike and the Coach Mo, we are out.
You see the drippy, I'm fitted up.